If you're a senior living on a fixed income, or someone supporting elderly family members, this is an update you'll want to hear clearly. In a new statement that's gaining national attention, former President Donald Trump has confirmed support for a proposal involving $2,000 stimulus rebate checks, and what's making headlines today is that low-income seniors have now been included in the updated priority list. Now, before anything else, this does not mean checks are going out tomorrow. Nothing is finalized yet, but what it does mean is that seniors, especially those living below certain income thresholds, are now being discussed as a key focus in the revised rebate plan. And that shift alone is something many have been waiting to hear for a long time. In this video, we're going to take a clear, honest look at what was said, what's actually possible, how seniors were added to the list, and what steps, if any, you may need to prepare for depending on how the proposal moves forward. No hype, no confusion, just straightforward information to help you stay informed. A lot of people rely on these updates to plan their monthly budgets, medications, groceries, and basic needs. So if this topic affects you or someone you love, stay with me. I'll break everything down simply, and by the end, you'll know exactly where things stand and what to watch for next. If you appreciate clear, honest updates without the drama, please like this video. It really helps support the channel and reaches more seniors who need accurate information. Let's start by taking a deeper look at what actually happened, because whenever big financial announcements start circulating, especially ones involving seniors and fixed-income households, it's important to slow down, breathe for a moment, and understand exactly what was said, what it means, and what it doesn't mean yet. When Donald Trump mentioned the idea of $2,000 stimulus rebate checks and highlighted low-income seniors as a group that should be included, it immediately set off a wave of discussions across social media, talk shows, and financial forums. But what often gets lost in the noise is the context. This is a proposal being supported, not a finalized payout heading to bank accounts. So as we break this down together, I want to make sure everything is presented clearly and realistically, because people depend on this information to plan their monthly lives, and misinformation can do real harm. Now, the reason this statement caught so much attention is not just the dollar amount, but the shift in tone regarding seniors. Over the last few years, many older Americans have felt overlooked, especially those living on limited retirement benefits or small monthly Social Security checks that simply haven't kept pace with inflation. When prices rise but income stays nearly the same, every small increase in rent, medication, utilities, or food is felt immediately. That's why the idea of including low-income seniors in any future rebate program matters so much. It signals recognition that the financial pressure on older Americans is real, and that they are one of the groups who would feel the greatest relief from even a modest one-time payment. But let's be honest with each other, there's a long road between a political figure expressing support for a policy and that policy becoming law. Many of you watching have been through this cycle before. Proposals appear, headlines explode, conversations heat up, and then everything slows to a crawl once it enters the legislative process. And that process, as we all know, can be unpredictable, frustrating, and slow. That's why, in this video, I want to give you a grounded understanding of where things realistically stand. Not hype, not promises, just clarity. When Trump mentioned the $2,000 figure, he framed it as a way to provide immediate relief to people who are getting hit hardest by rising costs. And whether you support him or not, the reality is that the conversation about direct financial aid has resurfaced because so many households, especially seniors, are struggling. Groceries cost more than they did just a year ago, rent continues to climb in many cities, and basic medical expenses have gone up in ways that make budgeting increasingly difficult. Even things like transportation, electricity, and home repairs have become more expensive, and when you're on a fixed income, you don't have the flexibility to absorb those jumps. That's why including low-income seniors in the updated eligibility conversation feels significant. It shows that there's awareness of the financial pressure on this group. But awareness doesn't automatically mean action, and that's where understanding the timeline becomes important. If discussions about stimulus-like payments move forward, the proposal would have to go through multiple stages of review, negotiation, and revision before anything becomes final. You've probably noticed this pattern from past relief packages, where different political groups debate what should be included, who should qualify, and how the payment should be funded. This time would be no different. So, what does this mean for you, or for someone in your family? It means staying informed without getting swept away by early headlines. It means paying attention to official updates rather than rumors or exaggerated posts circulating online. And it means understanding that while relief is being discussed, nothing is guaranteed yet. But it also means something else: seniors are finally being spoken about directly in these proposals, and that alone is a step forward. Because for too long, many older Americans have felt invisible in economic discussions, present only in statistics, not in actual policy priorities. Now let's talk about why this topic is resonating so strongly. Many of the comments I read from seniors, and maybe you can relate to this, express a mix of exhaustion and frustration. Some say they've worked their entire lives, paid taxes for decades, raised families, and contributed to the country in countless ways, yet they feel like they've been left on their own during one of the most financially challenging periods in years. Others say they're ashamed to admit that they can't afford the same groceries they used to buy. Some talk about cutting back on medications. Others mention skipping meals to stretch their monthly income. These are not small problems. These are fundamental challenges to living with dignity. That's why this conversation about financial support matters, even if it's still early. It matters because seniors deserve stability. They deserve clear information. They deserve to know that they are not being forgotten. And whether or not this proposal moves forward, the fact that it has reignited public awareness around the struggles of older Americans is an important shift. It forces policymakers, news outlets, and the public to acknowledge that rising costs are hitting seniors harder than almost any other group. Now let's talk about the emotional side of all this, because money issues are never just about money. When you're uncertain whether you'll have enough to cover your expenses for the month, it creates stress. And for seniors, stress isn't just uncomfortable, it affects health, sleep, mental well-being, and even relationships. Some seniors feel guilty asking their adult children for help. Others feel embarrassed admitting that their retirement savings aren't stretching as far as they expected. And many feel isolated, as if they're carrying their worries alone. I want you to know that if you're feeling this way, you're not alone at all. There are millions of people in the same situation, and that's exactly why conversations like this one matter. Now, one question people keep asking is, what would seniors actually have to do if these payments were approved? And the honest answer is that if this ever becomes official, the process would likely be similar to past rebate payments. For most seniors, especially those receiving Social Security benefits, payments would be automatic, sent to the same bank account or mailing address on file with the government. There wouldn't be a complicated application process, and you wouldn't need to fill out long forms or submit extra paperwork. The real challenge isn't in receiving the payment, it's in getting the proposal passed in the first place. Another concern people mention is whether income thresholds would change. And while there's no official document yet, discussions so far suggest that low-income seniors would be prioritized. This means individuals with limited monthly benefits, small pensions, or no significant savings could be at the top of the eligibility list. But again, nothing is final. This is why staying up to date with accurate, straightforward information is important. My goal is not to make claims that aren't real, but to help you understand the discussion as it unfolds. It's also important to point out that stimulus or rebate programs don't just appear out of nowhere. They are shaped by economic conditions. And right now, many economists are concerned about the financial pressure affecting people living below certain income levels. When households struggle, it affects the entire economy. When seniors cut spending because they can't afford to buy basic items, local businesses feel the decline. When medical costs rise and people can't keep up, the healthcare system feels the strain. Everything is connected, so proposals like this don't just aim to support individuals, they aim to stabilize the broader economy. Some viewers may be wondering whether this $2,000 figure is realistic. And that's a fair question. The number is significant and it would require political agreement across different groups. But it also reflects the growing understanding that small one-time payments, like previous $600 or $1,200 checks, didn't stretch very far for seniors living on tight budgets. By the time bills were paid, and groceries and medications were bought, the money was gone. Larger payments are being discussed because the cost of living today is not what it was even a few years ago. And while we can predict what final number lawmakers might agree on, the idea of a higher amount is absolutely grounded in the reality seniors face. Now let's shift to the human side of this topic again, because policy discussions can sometimes feel cold and disconnected. Behind every proposal, every statement, and every political debate, there are real lives. Real people, real stories. I've read messages from seniors who say even $300 of extra help would lighten their burden dramatically. Others say that $2,000 could help them catch up on overdue bills, repair something in their home, or refill necessary medications without fear. For many, it's not about luxury, it's about survival. That's why I want you to feel seen, heard, and respected as we talk about this. The reality is that aging should not feel like a financial punishment. Seniors should not have to choose between heating and groceries, or between medication and transportation. These are the kinds of situations that policymakers need to address, not just with talk, but with action. Now, as we continue watching how this conversation develops in the coming weeks and months, I encourage you to stay grounded. Avoid believing everything you see on social media. Avoid posts that guarantee money or promise overnight payments. When actual progress happens, it will come through official channels, statements from lawmakers, updates on government websites, or reliable news reports. And when those updates happen, I'll be here to break them down in a way that makes sense, without adding confusion or drama. As we begin to wrap up this portion of the discussion, I want to highlight one more important thing: staying informed is a form of empowerment. When you understand what's being discussed, what the possibilities are, and what the limitations are, you are better prepared to navigate the future. Whether this proposal moves forward, changes, or evolves into something different, you'll have the knowledge to understand what it means for you. And before I close today's video, I want to speak directly to everyone watching who feels overwhelmed or discouraged by their financial situation. Please remember that your struggles are valid. You are not weak for finding things difficult. You are not failing because the cost of living has skyrocketed in ways no one predicted. You are doing your best in a system that has become harder for millions of people, not just seniors. Your resilience, your honesty, and your willingness to stay informed are strengths, not weaknesses. I hope today's video brought clarity, comfort, and a sense of understanding. And as updates continue to unfold, I'll be right here sharing them with you in the most honest and authentic way possible. Thank you for spending your time with me today. If you found value in this conversation, if you appreciate content that respects your intelligence, and if you want YouTube to show this to more seniors who need calm, clear updates, please take a moment to like this video. It truly helps more than you know.